Your phone buzzes before your eyes are fully open. A message, a headline, a comment, one notification, and your heart rate spikes. You haven't even stretched yet, but the world has already entered your mind. Uninvited, unfiltered, and armed with urgency. Before you've had a thought of your own, 100 thoughts have already been assigned to you. This is the battlefield, not outside but inside, and most people lose before they even stand up. We live in an age that thrives on your reaction. Outrage is profitable. Drama is addictive. The more you flinch, respond, click and argue, the more the system wins. But you lose something sacred. Your clarity, your energy, your time, your soul. The more you react, the more you forget who you are. Because every reaction is a surrender of attention, of dignity, of power. This is where Stoicism enters, not with slogans, but with shields, not with noise, but with silence, not with apathy, but with strategic calm. The Stoic does not reject emotion, he rules over it. He does not withdraw from the world, he meets it unmoved. Indifference in this philosophy is not cold detachment. It is focused fire. It is the ability to look at the chaos and say, I decide what gets in. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire while ruling himself. Epictetus had nothing and still had peace. Seneca faced death with calm in his breath. They didn't flinch. They didn't chase respect. They didn't explain themselves to every fool. They lived the discipline of selective emotion, and they lived free. That's the ancient offer on the table for you right now. You don't need more hacks, affirmations, or to-do lists. You need fewer open doors in your mind, fewer leaks in your soul. This is not a self-help trick to feel better for a moment. This is the armor you wear when the world starts screaming, and you choose not to scream back. Before we move on, tell me, where in the world are you right now watching this? What city, what country? I want to know where this rebellion of calm is beginning. Type it below. Let's make the silent majority visible. Because if you want to reclaim your power, you must first understand where it's leaking. And that takes us to the real trap most people never see. The trap of reaction. How you're being controlled without realizing. You think you're making choices, but most of your reactions were programmed long before today. Every glare, every sarcastic reply, every angry scroll. They don't come from intention. They come from conditioning, family, culture, ego, media, layer upon layer. They taught you one thing. If it stings, strike back. If it offends, respond. If it disrespects you, reclaim your place with force. That script has been downloaded into you since childhood, and you're still running it without even noticing. But here's the cost. Every reaction hands your inner state to someone else. If a stranger on the internet can ruin your mood, who's really in control? If the traffic, the delay, the rude tone from a cashier can flip your day upside down, where is your sovereignty? We've built lives where peace is conditional and anger is constant. We've become puppets, brilliant, capable, wounded puppets, and the strings are everywhere. Now consider this. The outrage machine is not a metaphor, it's a business model. Platforms grow by keeping you emotionally unstable. Headlines are designed to provoke, not inform. Notifications are engineered to pull your attention before your reason can intervene. Even small talk, gossip, and office politics operate like emotional viruses, looking for your weak spots. The system doesn't just tolerate your overreactions, it depends on them. This is why the Stoics ask a question that seems too simple to matter. Is this within my control? At first, it sounds like philosophy light, but look deeper. That one question, sincerely asked, could save your sanity, could save your relationships, could save your mornings. When you realize that most of what provokes you is not yours to fix, fight, or even touch, you begin to see how much space you've wasted, how much peace you've surrendered. Reactions don't just rob your energy. They steal your presence. They rewrite your identity. You were calm, you were focused, you were steady, and now you're someone else. And for what? A few seconds of rage, a few words of self-defense, a few likes from people who don't even know you. Here's the first principle every Stoic lives by. He who angers you conquers you. Not because you lost the argument, but because you let them enter your mind. When you react, you serve. When you observe, you reign. Now let me ask you something personal. What's one small thing that steals your peace almost daily? A sound, a comment, a delay, a glance. Share it below, and also let me know where in the world you're watching from. Country and city. Let's start practicing awareness together, because once you see the trap, the question becomes, how do you tell the difference between what matters and what doesn't? Preferred versus indifferent, the Stoic map of inner freedom. Not everything is worth your attention. Not everything deserves your energy, but modern life tells you otherwise. It whispers that every opinion matters, that every inconvenience is a crisis, that every disagreement must be resolved. The Stoics rejected this madness. They offered a simple but radical idea. Most things are indifferent, not good, not bad, just there. Marcus Aurelius, writing in The Chaos of an Empire, said, "If it does not harm your character, it cannot harm you." This wasn't poetry. It was armor. He saw power, betrayal, loss, and trained himself to feel nothing toward what couldn't touch his soul. He divided life into two realms, what is preferred, what is dispreferred, and what is indifferent. But here's the twist. Even the preferred things aren't essential. They're nice to have, but not necessary to live well. Think about this. Health is preferred, but sickness doesn't destroy your virtue. Wealth is preferred, but poverty doesn't rob your integrity. Praise is preferred, but being ignored doesn't make you worthless. A Stoic recognizes these preferences and remains unchanged when they vanish. Now let's make this real. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Do you explode? Stoic Indifference says, that moment doesn't define you. You're ghosting someone and they gossip about you. Stoic Indifference says, reputation is not your virtue. You get rejected, overlooked, delayed. The world doesn't clap when you arrive. The Stoic says, I keep walking, I keep breathing. My worth is untouched. Indifference is not coldness. It's not apathy. It's selective care. You care deeply, just not about everything. You choose your battles. You don't allow the world to choose them for you. You stop chasing meaning in noise. You stop reacting to what was never yours to hold. And here's what happens next. Resilience, leadership, presence. You stop bleeding energy into 1,000 cuts. You stop proving yourself where no one is listening. You begin to own your inner space like a disciplined warrior, sword sheathed, eyes steady, heart intact. Because not everything deserves a reaction. In fact, almost nothing does. Now tell me honestly, what's one thing you've been reacting to that deep down you know doesn't matter? What's one illusion of importance you're ready to release? Share it, and include where you're watching from. Let's map this clarity across the world. But what about when the attack feels personal? When it strikes your pride and shakes your sense of self? Status, ego, and the art of saying nothing. There's a silent addiction running our world, the hunger for status. We chase it in likes, in praise, in subtle comparisons. We want to be seen as smart, strong, kind, accomplished, admired. But the Stoic sees through this. He doesn't starve for applause. He trains himself to be unimpressed. Public opinion is a false god. It gives you a high and drops you low, and you have no control over when. One compliment can lift you. One rumor can ruin your week. This is not power, this is slavery. And the Stoic kneels only to virtue, never to the crowd. Reactions are often not about truth, they're about ego. You weren't really offended. You were embarrassed. You weren't truly hurt. You felt disrespected. That's pride speaking, not purpose. And pride, when wounded, lashes out. The Stoic, on the other hand, says nothing, not out of weakness, but out of strength. Seneca warned, if it doesn't improve the silence, don't say it. That's not passive. That's powerful, because silence is not absence. It's mastery. It's the calm refusal to be pulled into every fight, every insult, every baited hook. You don't need to comment on every injustice. You don't need to defend your name every time it's mentioned. You don't need to respond just because someone else is loud. Sometimes, the most dangerous man in the room is the one who says nothing and watches everything. Here's a tool: the delayed response. When provoked, pause. When insulted, breathe. When your ego rises, observe it. Don't answer at the peak of your emotion. Wait until it subsides, and then decide if it's worth your words. Most times, it isn't. There's a quiet kind of dominance in this. People notice. You become unreadable, unshakable. The calm in your face, the stillness in your voice. It's not emptiness, it's discipline. It's a reminder that you belong to yourself, not to the reactions of others. Let me ask you, when someone disrespects you, what do you usually do? Do you react? Do you rush to defend? Or do you breathe, choose, and walk forward untouched? Comment your city and how you're training your calm. Your answers might inspire someone across the globe, because when the noise is loudest, there's one virtue that never shakes: the flame inside. Discipline as the backbone of indifference. You cannot practice stoic indifference in the chaos of the world if you haven't first practiced it in the silence of your own morning. Indifference is not a mood you stumble into. It is a fire you light every single day before the world even knows you're awake. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom. It's the origin of it. A man who cannot rule his mornings will never rule his reactions. The first battle is not against the world. It's against your own impulses, against your phone, your hunger, your need to rush. The Stoic doesn't rush. He rises. It begins with something simple. Don't touch your phone. Don't let someone else's voice enter your mind before your own. Sit, breathe. Let your body remember that it is not a machine. Let your mind remember that it can observe without immediately responding. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." He practiced this not in theory, but in the cold mornings of a Roman war camp. His discipline wasn't for show. It was for survival, the survival of his inner calm. Your morning is a sacred contract with yourself. You keep it or you don't. You set a tone, or the world sets it for you. That's why discipline matters, because indifference isn't something you turn on like a switch. It's something you rehearse in silence when no one's watching. Discipline says, I choose how I begin. I choose my thoughts. I choose my stillness. And from that stillness, I choose what matters. That's how you become unreactive, not by wishing, but by winning the morning over and over and over. Calm is not something you chase. It's something you build. It is the result of ordered decisions. It is the scent of a room where nothing is allowed to enter uninvited. Discipline is the door that protects that space. So tomorrow, before the world begins, begin yourself. Choose silence. Choose breath. Choose a ritual that says, this flame belongs to me, and let that fire carry you through the noise of the day without ever flickering. But what about when you're forced to engage? When the noise finds you? When you must act, but don't want to react? Active indifference, when doing nothing is doing everything. There is a moment, subtle, short, and powerful, when you are provoked and yet choose not to move. That moment is not weakness, it is mastery. Indifference is not inaction. It's action filtered through wisdom. When others lash out, you step back, and not to escape, but to choose the high ground. The modern mind is addicted to reaction. We're trained to comment, post, clap back, defend. But the Stoic pauses. He does not rush to rescue his ego. He does not bleed out his energy in battles that cannot be won. He withholds not because he's afraid, but because he's precise. Picture this. A friend makes a sarcastic remark. A stranger cuts in line. A colleague disrespects you in public. The world screams, "Say something." But the Stoic asks, what will silence preserve that a reaction will destroy? And more often than not, the answer is peace, dignity, control. This isn't weakness, it's presence. It's Epictetus saying, it's not the events that disturb us, but our judgment of them. If your judgment says, this is beneath me, then it no longer owns you. The insult loses its sting. The disrespect loses its weight. The drama dies before it ever reaches your soul. Indifference is not about avoiding conflict, it's about choosing worthy conflict. You don't engage because your feelings were hurt. You engage only when virtue demands it. That's power, that's strength, that's the clarity most men never reach. Doing nothing is not always passive. Sometimes it is the strongest move available. A calm face, a composed voice, a refusal to explain your worth. These are weapons far sharper than retaliation. They break cycles. They unnerve aggressors. They keep you unshakable in storms designed to pull you under. This is active indifference, a stillness that breathes through chaos, a decision to respond only when your soul is clean and your mind is quiet. No rush, no need, no panic, just presence, principle, and a heart that doesn't bend for nonsense. From where you are in the world, what's one situation you'll now approach with calm instead of chaos? Let us know your city and country in the comments, and show others what this discipline looks like when it's lived. But what if the most important practice was invisible to everyone but you? The sacred space, building an inner fortress of silence. True indifference is not built in chaos. It's built in silence, not the kind that just happens when things are quiet, but the kind you create, even when the world is loud. A sacred space where no insult can echo, no fear can shout, and no anxiety can root itself. A place inside you that belongs only to you. Silence to the Stoic is more than absence. It's presence without interference. It's the ability to hold your ground when everything else moves. Marcus Aurelius didn't need a mountain or temple. His silence lived in his breath, in his pause, in the space between stimulus and response. That space is sacred. Imagine starting your day not with noise, not with screens, not with pressure, but with stillness. A few minutes where you're not anyone's friend, boss, child, or partner. You're just a mind sharpening its edge, a soul aligning its compass. That space rewires everything. 5 minutes of stillness can give you 5 hours of clarity. This is not mystical. It's mechanical. It's training. The same way you lift weights or stretch, you build silence. You condition your nervous system to stay still under pressure. That silence becomes armor, not heavy, not rigid, but fluid and strong, a fortress made of breath. When you live from silence, you stop explaining yourself. You stop defending what doesn't need defense. You speak less, but when you do, it's felt. Your presence alone says, I've trained where you panic. That changes rooms. That quiet power earns respect that noise never could. Discipline is born in silence. Respect is preserved in silence. Inner peace is protected by silence. You don't need to respond to win. Sometimes your lack of reaction is the lesson someone else needs. The storm wants your attention. Your silence denies it validation. Build your fortress, a chair, a window, a stretch of grass, a room without sound. Find your place, claim it daily. The world will try to drag you out, but if your roots are deep enough, no noise can reach your center. That's not detachment. That's control. Where in your city or home do you find stillness? Share your country and your space below. You never know who might be inspired by your example. But there is one enemy that threatens all inner peace. The enemy within, emotional hijack, and how to stop it fast. The loudest storm is often the one inside you. Your thoughts flare, Your heart spikes, your body tightens, all before the world has finished speaking. Most people assume it's the events that disturb them, but the Stoics knew the truth. It's the judgment, the interpretation, the story you tell yourself about what just happened. Emotions are visitors, not rulers. They arrive and they leave, but you decide if they set up residence. The Stoic doesn't suppress them, he doesn't ignore them, he watches them, acknowledges them, and lets them pass. That's the difference between reaction and mastery, between chaos and calm. Imagine the trigger, a rude comment, a traffic jam, a failed expectation. The instant your mind begins its habitual narrative, this is unfair, this should not have happened, they're wrong. Pause, just pause. Count 5 breaths. Feel the body, feel the story forming, then ask, is this thought mine to act on? Most of the time it isn't. The 5-second watch is a simple yet powerful tool. It creates space between stimulus and response. In that gap lies freedom. The freedom to choose dignity over outrage, presence over panic, silence over escalation. Your mind begins to operate as a decision maker, not a reactor. This practice rewires your internal pathways. Your ego no longer sets the agenda. Your impulses no longer hold the pen to your narrative. You begin to feel the pause as strength, the silence as armor, the observation as command. You see, control is a habit, and every time you resist the immediate reaction, that habit strengthens. Self-mastery is not about perfection, it is about filtration. You filter thoughts, you filter emotions, you filter actions. You do not allow every impulse to write your day. You choose which waves touch you and which crash harmlessly on the shore. Now, reflect. What story have you been telling yourself about recent events? How have you allowed your reactions to rule you? Rewrite it, observe it, claim it. Comment your city and country and share one moment you're ready to handle differently. And when you've mastered silence, it's time to use it with precision. Strategic indifference. How to win without fighting. Indifference is not surrender. It is strategy. The Stoic does not flinch because he is weak. He does not remain silent because he lacks power. He chooses when and where to invest energy. Every reaction costs. Every unnecessary engagement drains presence. Indifference preserves both. Picture the strongest person in the room. Often it is not the loudest. It is the one who observes, who calculates, who chooses engagement only when virtue or necessity demands it. Marcus Aurelius said, "Be like the rock the waves keep crashing over, unmoved, unyielding, purposeful." Strategic indifference teaches you to filter offense, criticism, gossip, and provocation. Not every slight needs correction. Not every insult deserves acknowledgement. The world will attempt to manipulate your emotions, but your calm, controlled response or deliberate silence becomes armor and even influence. Use your indifference to win without fighting. A look, a breath, a composed face. These communicate more than words ever could. You do not need to escalate to assert authority. The choice to remain grounded demonstrates mastery of both yourself and the space around you. This is not detachment from life. It is alignment with reason. You remain fully present while refusing to be controlled by chaos. You prioritize energy toward what matters and dismiss what does not. Every choice is deliberate. Every pause, a reinforcement of freedom. Practice the controlled face. Practice measured words. Practice choosing when to act, when to speak, and when to remain silent. Your energy, once surrendered to every minor provocation, now belongs to you. Your reactions are reserved for the essential. CTA. From today, what will you stop reacting to? Where in the world are you practicing this discipline? Comment your city and country. Share the calm you are building. Let your strategic indifference inspire others to reclaim their own control. And when the storm returns tomorrow, will you be ready to remain unshaken? The Stoic who doesn't flinch, becoming the still point. Indifference is not a tactic, it is an identity. The Stoic does not flinch because the world is harsh. He does not sway because people shout. He becomes the still point in a storm, the calm that does not bend to circumstance. This is mastery, the presence of reason over instinct, observation over reaction. Silence is not absence, it is power. It is the confidence that your value is not defined by others' opinions. Indifference is not detachment from life, but commitment to self-command. It is the refusal to let every insult, every provocation, every chaos dictate your state of mind. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, they all lived this truth. They measured the storms, observed the waves, and remained unshaken. They understood that true strength is measured not by what challenges you, but by what fails to move you. The world may rage, but your calm is your fortress. To live this way, you must internalize the path. Know what moves you. Choose what matters. Release what doesn't. The habits you've learned, observation, pause, silence, selective action, they become bricks in your fortress. Every morning, each repetition reinforces the walls that keep your mind sovereign. Practice the ritual of review. Reflect on the day. Anticipate challenges. Remind yourself that your reaction is your responsibility. Train daily in stillness, discipline, and selective engagement. Over time, this becomes second nature. You no longer react unconsciously. You act consciously. This is the final stage. You become unshakable, not by avoidance, but by preparation. You remain calm in anger, composed in chaos, silent in provocation. You are the rock, the still point, the observer who can intervene wisely and ignore wisely. If you've reached this point, tell us where you are becoming unshakable, city and country below. Share your progress and inspire others to claim their calm. This is not just theory, this is life reclaimed. Your reaction is your responsibility. Your silence is your strength. Become the Stoic who does not flinch.